Yeah, good morning, students. So, in the last class, we are discussing about that means in the last class the circuit analysis and the circuit analysis two methods we discussed there, like parallel axis symmetry and perpendicular axis symmetry. And now in the today class we are going to discuss about shifted symmetry and the next path symmetry. So again, path symmetry is more powerful out of all these methods. And so now shifted method is simply, it is somewhat related to that of Wheatstone bridge, right? So that means generally in such a, it is shifted symmetry is applicable when the circuit is similar to that of a Wheatstone bridge, but not when it is not a balanced Wheatstone bridge, right? And so as I said in the discussing the previous classes and while discussing the balanced Wheatstone bridge, there I said in case of some resistors, that means in case of some unbalanced circuits, we can reduce the calculation by using this method. Just we can reduce the calculation. And so now here, if suppose if you are taking a circuit like this, and if I ask to find the effective resistance in that circuit, right? Then we know it is a balanced Wheatstone bridge. And so as it is a balanced Wheatstone bridge, then I can say that there is no current flowing through this 30 ohms, right? That we discussed already about the Wheatstone bridge. And so now here, this current I am taking it as I1 here, and as there is no flow of current here, then same current I1 will flow here, right? And so now suppose this current is I2 I am taking here, then again same I2 will flow here, right? And current flowing to the circuit will be 0 when I is a current entering the circuit here, and same current I will come out of the circuit, I1 plus I2, right? So that is a case when the circuit is a balanced Wheatstone bridge. Now suppose I am taking the circuit like this. Now suppose I am taking, instead of this, now I am taking the circuit as so that means here this is 10 ohms and this is 20 ohms. Here just I am interchanging these two resistors. That means I am shifting this 20 ohms to here, and then this I am shifting this 10 ohms to here, and this will remain as 30 ohms, right? Just I am interchanging these two resistors. Then 20 ohms I am connecting here and 10 ohms I am connecting here. So the resulting circuit is like this. Now is it a balanced circuit? Is it balanced Wheatstone bridge? So if you find this ratio, P by Q is equal to 1 by 2 you will get, and R by S is 2 you will get. So which is unbalanced Wheatstone bridge, right? Now suppose to apply this, that means to find the effective resistance in such unbalanced Wheatstone bridge, our procedure is we apply the Kirchhoff laws. So for the Kirchhoff laws, we should take the current distribution, right? And so now I am taking this as I. And now here suppose this current is I1 and this current is I2, right? Now here the shifted symmetry impedance will comes here. So that means now here if this current is I2, the same amount of current will flow here in the 20 ohms. That means this current will be I2, and here if current is I1, then same current will flow here in 10 ohms. And so that correspondingly here you may take some current distribution here by applying just that junction law. I1 is coming and I2 is flowing like this, then I can take this current as I1 minus I2. That means now some current is flowing in this 30 ohms, right? Now this is nothing but we call it as shifted symmetry. That means even though from this balanced Wheatstone bridge condition, even though resistors are shifted, the current flowing through that resistors will remain same. That means initially here I2 is flowing through the 20 ohms, then here also it flowing through the 20 ohms. So that is nothing but we call it as shifted symmetry, right? And here I can also explain from the beginning in the last class also I am saying that one more method, instead of applying all this symmetrical, we can apply this one more method. That method is nothing but when the circuit is symmetrical at the junction entering the circuit and at the junction leaving the circuit. From here you will get more clarity about that. When the junction is same, that means when the circuit is same at the junction where the current is entering and at the junction where the current is leaving, in the identical paths, same amount of current will flow, that means will enter, and at the same time same amount of current will leave the circuit. Now let us come to this part here. Now this current entering and leaving is similar only, right? So that means now here I am taking I1 and here it is I2. Now I can say that I2 current will flow here because now here 20 ohms is there here. Now this one and this one are similar here, and this one and this one are similar here. So I1 is flowing, and here also that means here I1 is flowing here, then through this 10 ohm I1 current will flow here. So that means like that also now we can say that entering and leaving junctions identical current will flow through the identical resistor. So here this identical 20 ohms is identical to this. So then here if I2 is there, then I2 current will leave the circuit. Here if I1 is entering the circuit, and here I1 will leave the circuit. So like that also we can say. Now this is a shifted symmetry. So just by applying the shifted symmetry, we can reduce the calculation, that's it. We can't find directly this F2 resistance, or by using this actually we can't find any equipotential points also, just the calculations will reduce us here. We can reduce this because the number of unknowns will reduce, and thereby automatically the calculation will also reduce us here, right? And so then we can simplify the circuit by applying next procedure is we need to apply the Kirchhoff laws only. So we need to apply the Kirchhoff laws. Just by applying the Kirchhoff laws, you can solve the circuit here. Is it clear? So just write that about the shifted symmetry. So first draw the circuit here. So after that circuit, write that in the circuit shown in figure, the circuit shown in figure is a balanced Wheatstone bridge, and so no current flows through the 30 ohm resistor. Let I1 be the current flowing through the 10 ohm and I2 be the current flowing through the 20 ohm. Let I2 be the current flowing through the 20 ohm resistors respectively. Now let us interchange. Now let us assume that the resistors 10 ohms and 20 ohms on the right side of the circuit are interchanged. 10 ohms and 20 ohms on the right side of the circuit are interchanged, such that resulting circuit is as shown. Now draw this. Draw the second circuit. Now such a circuits are said to be in shifted symmetry. That means shifted symmetry in the sense, just if we interchange these two resistors, then we should get a balanced Wheatstone bridge. So that means by interchanging two resistors in the given combination, if you are getting that as a balanced Wheatstone bridge, then we can call it as a shifted symmetry. The circuit is in shifted symmetry, we can call it. So now here, so the circuit is shown in figure shown below. Even though the position of 20 ohm resistor is changed, position of 20 ohm resistor position is changed, but still same amount of current I2 will flow through it, and similarly through the 10 ohm resistor also same amount of current I1 will flow through it as shown in figure. So that means this is the just only the advantage of shifted symmetry. We can take the same current here. That is only the advantage. That means by taking like that, we can reduce the number of unknowns, and so that we can reduce the calculations. That means if, as I said previously, 3 unknowns are there, we need to apply the Kirchhoff law for 3 loops. If 4 unknowns are there, we need to apply for the 4 loops. That means if we don't know this point, then here also we need to take some other variable. Like you can't take I2 directly if you don't know about this shifted symmetry. You need to take some I3 for example, then one more variable will be there. So that we need to apply the Kirchhoff law for one more time. And so now that is the circuit here. Now I will solve this circuit here just by applying this Kirchhoff law here. Let us say this. I think you can solve this. We solved already some problems based on this, and similar to this unbalanced wisdom which also we solved there. So now just I am taking this circuit like this, and I am further reducing these variables here. That means now I am taking the circuit like this. We know by applying Kirchhoff law, whenever you are finding this effective resistance, or let us take these are the points A and B. So then we can assume an imaginary cell here, right? So I am taking an imaginary cell is connected between these points here. And so now the resistors are, this is 10 ohms and this is 20 ohms and this is 10 ohms and this is 20 ohms. So further I am taking these variables like this. And that means even I am not taking I2 also. That means now I am reducing the circuits further here. That means this is I1 I am taking here and I minus I1, right? Then this is I minus I1, right? That means here I is the current entering we are taking here. So I1 is current flowing in this way, in this direction. Then I am taking this as I minus I1. Further I am reducing the variables here, right? And so then if this is I minus I1, then this current should also be I minus I1. That is nothing but what we are taking here. If this is I2, then this current should be I2. And similarly, if this current is I1, then here this current should be I1. And now suppose this is I2 I am assuming here. So this current is I2 I am assuming here. So now the variables are like I1, I2 are there. So I2 value you can calculate by applying junction law at this point here. Suppose this is point C and this is D. So by KCL at junction C. So just apply the KCL at the junction C. Therefore this I1 is equal to I2 plus I minus I1. So therefore this I2 is equal to 2I1 minus I. So that is I2 value. Now you can observe that only one variable is there for us, right? Only I1 is a variable. And so now just if you can apply the Kirchhoff law for only one loop, and then you will get I1 value. Then finally you can apply that Kirchhoff law by including the cell, right? So then I am writing like by KVL, any one loop you may consider here. For example, I am taking this outer loop here for AC BDA, right? For this loop I am applying here. And so just you can write like minus 10 I1 minus 20 I minus I1 minus plus 10 I1. This current we are coming like this plus, and this is also plus here, plus 20 of I minus I1, right? So this is equal to, then I will write here minus 10 I1. I think you can divide with the 10, so we can reduce the calculation here. So then I can write this as minus I1 minus 2I plus 2I1 plus I1 plus 2I minus 2I1 is equal to 0. So now let us see the I1 terms here. So then here it is plus 2I1 and minus 2I1. Sorry, here if you are taking like this, then you will get this, all the terms are getting cancelled here. We need to apply like this. We need to apply like this, because if you are applying like this, then total potential is 0 and only that variable is there, that variable gets cancelled here. So then let us apply now KVL for this loop here. Now KVL for the loop ACDA. So let us apply for this loop. Now you will get the relation between I1 and I2 here. So then here I can write this as minus 10 I1 minus 30 I2. This is plus 20 into I minus I1. This is equal to 0, right? So divide with the 10. So minus I1 minus 3I2 plus 2I. So I2 means you can substitute that I2 value here by using this equation. So then let us substitute this I2 value here. Minus I1 minus 3 into I2 value is nothing but 2I1 minus I plus 2 of I minus I1 is equal to 0, right? And so now let us simplify this equation. I will write here minus I1 minus 6I1 plus 3I plus 2I minus 2I1 is equal to 0. And now see this, this is 7 plus 2, 9 minus 9I1 plus 5I is equal to 0. Therefore, this I1 is equal to 5 by 9I. So that means now only one variable is there, I1, and we calculated already that variable value now, right? And so now finally we know, we need to apply the Kirchhoff laws by including the cell, and then we can find this effective resistance there. So that means now applying the Kirchhoff law by including the cell here. So for example, I am applying by KVL for loop ACBA. Including this cell, we are applying like this. And so now this minus 10 I1 minus 20 of I minus I1, we are applying including the cell like this. So plus V is equal to 0, right? And so let us write this V is equal to 10 I1 plus 20I minus 20 I1, right? And so therefore this we can substitute this I values, I1 value here. So then this value I can write this as I into R effective, and this is 20I and minus this 10 I1 you will get, that I1 value I am substituting here. 10 into this is 5 by 9 I1. This is I1 value, right? And so now this we can write this as so then I value can cancel here, therefore this R effective is equal to then it is 20 minus 50 by 9. And so you can take LCM and you can simplify this. 180 minus 50 means this is 130 by 9 ohms you will get, right? So that is the effective resistance of this combination here. So that means we already solved this unbalanced Wheatstone bridge problem. Just by using the shifted symmetry, the only advantage is we reduce the variables here. We reduce the variables so that we can calculation will reduce the here. That means if you are not taking such a shifted symmetry, one more variable will be there here. So you need to apply this Kirchhoff law for this one more loop like this, and then we need to solve such a two equations there first. Then you will get I1 and I2 values. Then we need to apply finally this Kirchhoff law here, right? So whereas if you are taking that shifted symmetry, the number of variables will reduces there, so that we can apply this easily, right? So that is shifted symmetry advantage there. Just a calculation will reduces. So simply remember that shifted symmetry means if we interchange those two resistors, it should become a balanced Wheatstone bridge. And so that then we can consider that as a the circuit is in shifted symmetry, and those resistors should be same here. Resistor should be same means entering and leavings, those resistor values must be same. Like suppose what I am saying is, if I am taking the circuit like this, this is 10 ohms and this is 20 ohms I am taking here, and suppose let us take this as 40 ohms and this as 20 ohms. Let us take this as 30, right? And so now even if we interchange these two resistors now, the bridge will be balanced bridge. That means the bridge will be, if you are interchanging this resistance here and 40 ohms is connected here, then the resulting circuit will be like this. That means this is 10, 20 and this is 20 and here you will get 40. So then P by Q is 1 by 2 you will get, R by S is also 1 by 2 you will get. Now you can't take this circuit as now shifted symmetry, because here resistance and here resistance, or here resistance and here resistance is not same. So when these two resistors must be same and these two resistors must be same, then only we can consider this as a shifted symmetry. So got it? So those resistors, these two resistors must be same and these two resistors must be same. Then you can take same amount of current is flowing here and same amount of current is flowing in these two resistors. Here in such a case, you can't take the same amount of current is flowing in these two resistors and same amount of current is flowing in these two resistors. Only, even though observe here, even though these two resistors are same, you can't take the same amount of current here, because the remaining distribution is changing here, remaining values are changing. When this current I2 here, if this is not I2, if suppose this is I3 for example, then here also definitely current should change here. Same amount of current is not exist, even though only these two resistors are same. Remember, this pair and this pair must be same. Then we can take that. That means if it is 20, then here if it is 10 is there, then you can take the same amount of current in these two resistors. So that point you should remember when you are applying this shifted symmetry. The resistors values must be same. 20 and 20 and 10 and 10. And so next let us see about this path symmetry here. So actually this path symmetry is more powerful or more useful. That means this path symmetry is more useful when compared to the remaining symmetry, and this is also somewhat easy only. And so now path symmetry means from beginning of the circuit, that means from the junction where the current is entering, we start and the current leaving suppose if you are traveling to the other junction where the current is leaving. If suppose in any of those paths, when you are traveling like that, if you are taking any paths there from one point to other point in the given circuit, or from the beginning of circuit to the ending of the circuit, if any identical configuration of the paths, that means identical paths are there. Identical paths means same amount of resistance must be there and the same configuration of the resistors must be there, right? And then such a paths are said to be identical paths. When the paths are identical, what will happen is, in the beginning of the paths, the current will divide equally. That means identical current will flow through them. So if you are able to identify such identical paths, then we can identify the equipotential points easily, right? And so now let us let us explain this path symmetry with the help of this circuit here. So first write the definition of this path symmetry here. If all the paths from one point to another point, if one point to another point have same configuration of resistors, then current will divide equally among them. Current will divide equally among them. And that means here I am saying for all the paths I am saying here, if suppose more number of paths are there, out of them sometimes two paths may be identical and the remaining two paths may be not identical path, unidentical paths. Then current will divide, same amount of current will flow through both the identical paths. Then the remaining paths which are not identical, then different current will flow through that. That means if some of the paths are identical, then that sum of the current will flow through, the same amount of current will flow through that. So let us discuss this path symmetry with the help of this circuit here. And so first write about this path symmetry. When two or more paths from one point to another point, are having same configuration of resistors, same configuration of resistors, then those paths are said to be identical. Those paths are said to be identical, and the same amount of current will flow through the identical paths. Same amount of current will flow through the identical paths. Right? So that is a path symmetry meaning here. The configuration of resistors must be same amount of resistors, and the configuration of the resistor should also be same. Then same amount of current will flow through the identical path. If you are able to identify the identical paths, so as the same amount of current is flowing through them, you can easily identify that equipotential points. Once if you identify the equipotential points, then you can reduce the circuits as we discussed it in perpendicular symmetry there, right? So this is also most useful, so listen it carefully. And so now starting from this point D I am considering here, we need to reach the point DF, that is the final point of the circuit. And so now let us identify how many paths are there and whether they are identical or not, let us consider, right? And so now here at the beginning 2 paths are there, that means along this AB and AC, 2 paths are there. Now let us discuss whether those paths are identical or not. That means when you are traveling from ABEF and when you are traveling from ACDF, whether the paths are same or not. That means they are having the same amount of resistors, right? And the same configuration of resistors also. Configuration means here at the point B, if I consider here, for example, say this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 resistors are connected here, and at the point C also 5 resistors are connected. At point D also 5 resistors are connected, and point D also 5 resistors are connected. That means this part and this part is exactly same, right? And for example, if this part is not there, only this lower part is there but upper part is not there, then you can't say this ABEF and ACDF paths are identical, because configuration of resistor, even though same amount of resistor, suppose directly if you are traveling from here to here, or 3 resistors we are crossing here also or 3 resistors, 3 we are crossing here, but configuration of resistors is not same. If this is not there, I am saying, if this upper part is not there, then lower configuration and upper configuration of the resistors will be different. And so then in that case, you can't say both the paths are identical. But now, as it is present, then both the paths are identical. So if the paths are identical, then what we are concluding is current will divide equally, or same amount of current is flowing through them. So same amount of current is flowing through them means I can say this I by 2 and I by 2 current will flow through this, right? And so that when I by 2 and I by 2 current is flowing through that, then from this you can identify the equipotential points. And you say which are equipotential here? When here current is I by 2, the potential difference between AB is IR by 2. Similarly here IR by 2 you will get, right? And so then we can conclude that B and C are at same potential. And therefore we can write like potential at B is equal to potential at C, and similarly, so that means here previously I mentioned like when entering and leaving junctions are same amount of current should enter and the same amount of current should leave. That means identical current should enter and identical current should leave. That means here if I by 2 and I by 2 is entering, so same I by 2 and I by 2 should leave here, right? And so if I by 2 and I by 2 are leaving, from this we can conclude that these two junctions should also the same potential, right? Because IR by 2 and IR by 2, same potential difference. Therefore we can write this as potential of D is equal to potential of E. So that means now we identify the equipotential points. So once if equipotential points are identified, you can join them. You can join them to a single point, right? Or that means now you can, and from this here between B and C one resistor is connected, and so as these two are equipotential points, no current will flow through that resistance. That means whenever resistance is connected between two equipotential points, no current will flow through that. And so then you can eliminate this resistance here, and this resistance also can eliminate because those are also equipotential. Then if those two resistors are eliminated, then circuit will become more simple for us, right? So then that means because we can join this B and D together. So I will draw the circuit here. So let us see this. I will draw the resulting circuit here. And first mention this. In the circuit shown in figure, in the circuit shown in figure, the paths right here, A, B, E, F and A, C, D, F are having same configuration of resistors, and so current in the beginning of these paths must be same. Current in the beginning of these paths must be same. So that is I by 2 and I by 2, let us take. From this we can conclude that the potential of B and C will be same. And similarly, potential of D and E will be same. Now see this, I am redrawing the circuit here. Just by combining those B and C and D and E, if you combine them, then the resulting circuit will be like this. So this is our point A. So this is the point like B comma C, and this is the point like D comma E, right? Now see the resistors here. This is R and R we are representing here. This is 2R because R and R both are in series, and here also 2R. So this is 2R and this is also 2R. And next here, as these 2 points are combined here, that means I can remove this diagonal here and I can connect here, right? We solved already such a problems previously when there is a conducting wire here. Because if conducting wire is there, then D and E will be at same potential. Even now also we are saying that they are at same potential. So I can remove this connection here and I can connect here. And so then these two will be in parallel. And similarly I can remove this connection from E and I can connect at the point at E. Then you can easily say that these two are in parallel. Now we are combining all of them to the same point. So these 4 resistors will be in parallel, right? And so then such a 4 resistors are there here. So then these are the 4 resistors here. Then middle resistance won't be there. So then this is R, and this is R, and this is also R. Such a 4 resistors. And similarly, additionally, this resistance will be there here, 2R. And next these 2 resistors will be there here, R and R. And so now we can further simplify this. So that R effective I am writing here. So when you write this R effective here, you will get R by 2 plus. That means now this part and this part all are in series you will get. So directly I am writing here R by 2 you will get, and here it is total, this is total R you will get here, 2R and 2R I am simplifying first, R you will get, then total 5 resistors will be in parallel. So R by 5 you will get. So that resistance will be R by 5 plus, and here also this is R by 2 you will get. And we can simplify this, 5R plus 2R plus 5R by 10, and so that this is 12 you will get. So it is 6 by 5R. So that is our R effective here. Got it? Now see this, such a complicated circuit also we are solving very easily. Just it becomes a series and parallel combination if you are identifying the equipotential points. So for identifying such equipotential points, just we are applying this technique here, path symmetry. So from beginning to ending, if the paths are identical, then current in the beginning of that identical paths will be same. So that same amount of current will flow into them. So from that we are applying this equipotential points there, right? That means we are simplifying the circuit there. So now let us see one more example here based on this, so that you will get more clarity about this. So just in the given circuit, when you are starting from one point to another point when you are traveling, if you are crossing same amount of resistance and if the configuration of resistors are same, then you can treat that as identical paths. So let us take one more example here based on this path symmetry. Now I am taking a cube example. By taking the cube example, you can explain this path symmetry here. So that these are that means between any two sides the resistance R is there here. I am representing just as a wire. Then between these two corners we need to find here. Suppose this is A, B, C, D, like E, F, G, H. So between these two junctions we need to find this effective resistance here, A and H. So write that 12 resistors, 12 wires, 12 identical wires, each of resistance are connected in the form of a cube as shown. Then find effective resistance. So I will give this all the three conditions here. I am saying like first one between A and H. Second one, take A and F adjacent corners, and the third one, let us take A or F and G or F and H, means phase diagonal. Now first one is body diagonal, A and H means across the body diagonal we are finding here, and the second one is adjacent sides, A and F means, and the third one is F and H means that is the phase diagonal. For across any phase diagonal we are finding the resistance. So now this actually for this there are different methods are there. Now we are going to discuss by path symmetry, right? And so now here our first let us take about this body diagonal A to H. We are discussing about this, right? And so now to travel from this A to H there are different paths are there. Suppose here three paths are available here. So then when you are traveling along those three paths, if the same amount of resistance you are crossing and if the configuration of resistors are also same, then you can consider them as identical. So right, now suppose one of the path I am taking like this. So A, and this is A, F, E, R, that means R, 2R, 3R. 3R resistor we are crossing here, right? And next I am taking the path like this path A, B, G, H, R, R, R. 3R resistor we are crossing here. And next let us take suppose this path here A, D, C, H, R, R, 2R, 3R. That means 3R we are crossing here. And you can also observe this identical. That means this is one path we are taking here. This is another path we are taking here. Second path. And the third path we are taking here. Now the resistors, all the configuration is also same. Now see the configuration means, let us see here. Along this path, after crossing the first resistor, now you see this, two resistors are joining here. Now for this also, if you are traveling along this, After crossing the first R, two resistors are joining here. Across this, two resistors are joining here. So configuration is same. And next, even if you are considering the second step also, after crossing the 2R, two resistors are joining. After crossing the 2R, these two resistors are joining here. And after crossing this 2R, that means after reaching this, these two resistors are joining there. That means configuration of resistors is also same. And so that what we can say is all the paths are identical. That means here A, F, E, H, comma A, B, G, H, and the another path we are writing is A, D, C, H. All these three paths are identical. So current will divide equally among those. So that means I am taking this current as I by 3, and this is also I by 3, and this current is also I by 3, right? In the beginning of circuit only we can say, in the beginning of those parts, current will divide equally. So I by 3, I by 3 and I by 3, right? And so next let us come to this path here. In one of the path I am taking, we are reaching this junction, and at this junction now again two paths are available, right? And the two paths are, that means path symmetry may not be there only in the beginning of the circuits. In some intermediate paths also the path symmetry may be available or may be there in the given circuits. So that means here in the beginning we discussed already, path symmetry is there, so that we are discussing, we are dividing the current equally. In the intermediate parts also the path symmetry may be available, that means path symmetry may be there here. Now see this, after reaching the point B, again two paths are available to reach the point H. So one path is, see this, BCH, and other path is BGH. Is both are same? Exactly, both are identical. R or 2R, and this is also 2R. And you can observe this, after crossing R, two resistors are joining, after crossing this two resistors are joining, and those two resistors are reaching the H directly, right? So their configuration is also same. And so that what we can say is current will divide equally among these two paths, right? Again this current, whatever the current reaching this junction will divide equally. So here current is I by 3 is reaching here. So this current we can say here as I by 6. And so then this current is also I by 6. Got it? So this I by 3, here the current is I by 3 is reaching this junction. That I by 3 will divide equally again. Now again similarly let us reach this junction. Let us consider the junction D. So at the junction D if I consider, again two paths are available, right? So one path is, say this, DCH, 2R we need to cross, and here also 2R, that means D to E, E to H, 2R. And again their configuration is also same. From C to D if you consider, here two resistors are joining, and here also two resistors are joining, and that resistance is directly reaching this point H here. And so that again what we can say is, this current I by 3 will divide equally further. And so that means here this is I by 6 and this current is I by 6, right? And next similarly I am saying here, directly I am writing here, these two paths are also identical to reach the point H. Clearly you can observe this is one path and this is another path. And so that here also current will divide equally, I by 6 and I by 6, right? And next, so then next let us consider further division of this current here. Now suppose I am taking this junction E, right? At the junction E let us take this current here. From F I by 6 is coming and from D I by 6 is coming, right? Observe this, I by 6 is coming from F to E and I by 6 is coming from D to E. So the total current flowing in this resistance we can write as I by 6 plus I by 6, so which is I by 3. Got it? I by 6 and this is I by 6. Next similarly let us consider this junction G. From this I by 6 and from this I by 6, right? And so that this current will be again I by 6 plus I by 6, I by 3. Next let us consider this junction. From this I by 6 and from this I by 6. So that this current is I by 3. So then from the beginning I am saying one point here. When the that means when the junction leaving the current entering the circuit and leaving the circuit are identical, current, identical current will flow through the identical path. So that means here you can observe this I by 3, I by 3, I by 3 is that initially it is dividing like that, and same I by 3, I by 3, I by 3 is joining here to get the total current I, right? And so now the current distribution is completed. So now as all the paths are identical paths are from beginning to ending, all the identical paths are available here. No need of taking any variable. We are not taking single variable in this. That means I1, I2, I3 we are not taking. So directly identical paths are available from beginning to ending, so that we are dividing the current in each branch there, right? And so as there is no single variable, so we can now directly say this total, we can apply the Kirchhoff law finally. Then you can apply this, by applying the Kirchhoff law you can calculate this effective resistance here. That means actually in this also, as we are identifying the that means identical paths or the current distribution is over, you can identify the equipotential points. If you identify the equipotential points, then you can say that B, D and F, these three are equipotential. You can join them. You can join them. And similarly C, G and E, those three are identical. You can join them. And to join them you will get more confusion here. If you are joining them and if you are drawing this, you will get more confusion here. You may try that. If you are joining these two, that means these three here, these three resistors will be parallel, that is very clear. And if you are joining C, G, E, these three resistors will be parallel. And in the middle resistors also, some of them will become parallel there. That means which resistors are becoming parallel and how they are becoming parallel, you need to calculate more carefully if you are combining like that. Now instead of that, what I am doing is, as the current distribution is over, I am assuming an imaginary cell here. I am assuming an imaginary cell is connected between those 2 points, and I am applying the Kirchhoff law as the current distribution is over for us. So then by KVL, you can take any one of the path here, including this cell. Here you may take any one of the path, right? Either you can travel like this, or you may travel like this, or you may travel like this, or here you may travel like this. Any one of the paths you can follow. So you will get the same value here. So for loop A, B, C, H, A, that means I am traveling directly along this path, including this cell here, right? And so that I am writing these values here. So see this. Here current is I3. So I3 into R minus I by 3. I by 3 into R. Next here B to C. Current is I by 6. Minus I by 6 into R. Next from C to H. I by 3. So minus I by 3 into R. Plus V. When you are reaching this point here. Plus V is equal to 0. Right? Therefore I can write this as so take LCM here, so 5 by 6 IR you will get, right, if you are adding all these values. And so therefore this, we know this value, V value we can write it as I into R effective, so then it is 5 by 6 I into R, therefore that I value can cancel here, and therefore this is 5 by 6 R you will get. So that means after taking this current distribution in this problem, if you are applying this Kirchhoff law, then we are getting it more easily. In the previous problems we joined the junctions there, right? Here also you may join the junctions and try to solve that problem. And actually because it will be difficult, you should join those junctions carefully. That means as I said, you need to join the junctions B, D, F. These 3 points you should combine together. And similarly C, G, E. So try join those junctions and calculate the effective resistance. That means if you join them, you will get directly series and parallel combination of resistors. So you should get that effective resistance as 5 by 6 or we should get, right. So that is, now try this. Join these junctions and find these resistors will become totally series and parallel combinations and find the effective resistance there, right. That means you can easily say that try yourself. That means here 3 resistors will be in parallel and these 3 resistors will be in parallel. In the middle totally 6 resistors must be in parallel. You will get totally 6 resistors in parallel. Identify them which of them are in parallel, and redraw the circuit by joining them and simplify that. So I am saying the hint also here 3 and ending 3, these 3 resistors, middle total 6 resistors you will get in parallel. So identify that. And now let us take this points A and F. So A and F I am taking. So let us draw the cube again. Right. So this is our what we consider A, B, C, D. So this is E, F, G, H. Right. So now we are going to find effective resistance between these 2 points here. So current is entering here and it is directly leaving at this point here. Right. And so now if you are again taking some identical paths here, if you are taking this identical paths, so then here totally 3 paths are there. Out of these 3 paths, this path is totally different because it is directly from starting to ending here, right? A, F, directly starting is connected between starting and ending points. So now it can't be a symmetry this. So let us leave that path. Then let us think about the remaining 2 paths here, whether they are identical or not. So that means now here suppose one path I am traveling like this. So this is R, 3R, and you can also travel like this, 3R, right? Or you may travel along this also even if you consider. That means this path and this path is identical, right? Because same amount of that means same amount of resistance we are crossing and same configuration of resistors will also be there, right? And so in that case, we can say that only out of those 3, only 2 paths are identical, right? So let us take the current distribution in them as same. So now here I am taking this as some I1 and I1 I am taking here. This current as I1 I am taking, and then this current is also I1, and let's suppose I is the total current. Then this remaining current I minus 2I will flow here to I1, right? And next. So then current is reaching here and this current is reaching here, right? And so next here, now let us take think about the distribution of the further division of the current here, whether the current is, how the current is divided. That means whether again this further identical paths are there or not. Let us think here. When you are reaching this point and when you are reaching this this junction here, that means B and D. About this B and D, let us think here. And actually we can say that as the resistance is same here, you can say that B and D will be at same potential, right? Because here potential drop is I1R and here also potential drop is I1R. R is there for every path here. So as I said in the previous problem, between any 2 junctions the resistance is R. So between any 2 junctions the resistance is R here. So that means here potential drop between A and D is I1R, between B and D also I1R. So from this what I am concluding is potential of B is equal to potential of D. Got it? Similarly, so as I said in the beginning, when current entering and leaving junctions are identical, so identical current will flow through them. So here is I minus 2I1 is flowing, same amount will reach here. The remaining this I1 and I1 is flowing here. So I can take this I1 is coming out here and I1 is coming out here, right? So that this total current will become I. This total current at this I will flow out of this. So from this what we can conclude is these 2 junctions will also be same potential, and therefore we can conclude that potential at G is equal to potential at E. Got it? So as we know the identical potential points here, you can combine them. You can combine those points here. So I will explain in this problem how to combine those points. The previous one you draw the resulting circuit, we solved by applying Kirchhoff laws. So you solve by joining those points here. Now in this I am going to explain by joining those points here, right? And so now remember this, we are joining this B and D and we are joining the E and F, sorry, G and E, these 2 points. So now let us consider the circuit here. I am drawing like resistors here. Right. So this point I am taking it as like B comma D. One junction here I am taking here. So when you are joining this, the remaining these two will be there. Here 2 more resistors are there here. So you should redraw this circuit more carefully by combining those points there. So just you need to first identify that which resistors will become series and which resistors will become parallel here. So identify this. When you are joining these B and D, these 2 resistors will be in parallel, these 2 resistors will be in parallel, these 2 resistors will be in parallel, because we are joining the top points also, G and F also. Similarly, these 2 G and E also, these 2 resistors will be in parallel and these 2 resistors will be in parallel. So that means here you will get such a one more combinations like this. So here these 2 resistors will be in parallel. So I can write this as that means here also 2 more resistors will be in parallel. We need to represent 2 more resistors there. Right. So now let us observe the junctions here. This is B comma D and this is E comma F, E comma G, right? And so now let us write this. This is the point H, and this is our point A, and this is F. So current is entering here and current is leaving here. Now that is the resulting circuit. By identifying equipotential points, we are joining them. When you are joining them, you will get a circuit like this. And so now you can simplify the circuit now. I think you can solve this circuit here, right? So that means R by 2, and this is R by 2 and R by 2, and this is all, this will remains R only. That means this will be only one resistance will be there here. This resistance, C2H resistance. So now further simplify this circuit here. Simplify this circuit, and next this also just I will explain between F and H, try yourself, right? Next I am going to the next problem. You simplify this and find the effect. That means now directly there is no any further complication. Step by step, if you reduce the circuits, you will get directly series and parallel combination of the resistors, right? There is no any complication in this. And next let us consider this point like between the phase diagonal. Effective resistance between the phase diagonal, let us consider here, the third part of the problem, right? So I will take this current distribution first. That means we are finding between F and H. So let us consider current is entering at F and leaving at the H. So this is our current I, right? You can try by with the knowledge of this path symmetry here. We are going to consider this path symmetry only again. So directly what we can say is, that means again 3 paths are available here. Out of those 3 paths, similar to our previous case, 2 paths are identical. So that paths you can say FGH and FEH. So directly those are, that means 2 sides of the square. So that means those are identical here. So I am taking this current as I1, and this also I1 I am taking here. So the remaining current will be there along this path. So that means I minus 2I1 will be there along this path, right? Because definitely you can say that this is not symmetrical with those 2 paths, right? And so again what we can say is, as the current is same in those 2 paths, the potential of E and G must be same, right? Potential of E and G must be same. and so that you can consider that potential is same here. So that I can write this potential of E is equal to potential of G. Why it is same? How we are saying those are same potential? Potential difference is IR1, I1R, and potential difference here also I1R. So that these 2 points must have, that means their potential difference is same across them, means these 2 points must be at same potential, because one point is already common for both of them. And next here we need to apply one more concept here, like I am saying from the beginning, when current entering and leaving junctions are similar, then similar current should flow through the identical paths or similar paths here. So that means now let us come to the leaving junction. At the leaving junction, if I consider I1 and I1 is flowing like this, so directly you can say that this I1 will become like this and I1 is coming along this direction here, right? Now through this path, the current must be, whatever it is coming along this, the same current should flow here. Now this path is identical to this at the leaving and ending junctions, right? And so this current must be equal to I minus 2 I1, right? And so now here the important point we should observe is, with this point now we can simply solve the circuit. And so now with this point what we can say is, whatever the current, that means here current I1 is flowing and here current I1 is flowing along this path here. This I1 is reaching this and I1 is flowing along this path here, right? That means there is no division of current along this. There is no current flowing in this. Similarly here, there is no current flowing here. Same I1 is flowing from F to G and the same I1 is flowing directly from G to H. So there is no division of current at this point also. And so from this we can conclude that these resistors will be ineffective. That means we can remove them. And because here even if you consider this current here, I minus 2 I1 is coming, out of that it will divide equally among those paths here. Suppose I am taking this current as some I2. Then here current will be I2 by 2 and here also current will be I2 by 2. So that current will join here I2 by 2 and this is also I2 by 2. Here also current is I2 by 2, half of this. That current will join here and so that you will get this total current as I2. Got it? That means here also from this what we can conclude is, here there is no division of junction here. So that means this resistance will become ineffective. This resistance and this resistance will become ineffective. Is it clear? That means there is no current flowing here. There is no current division of current taking place at this, and so no current is flowing at that path there. So when you are removing those resistors, then circuit will be easy here. When you are removing those resistors, I will remove those 2 resistors here. So when you remove those 2 resistors, then see the circuit will become more easy. So that circuit you can draw like this, right? And so now that is the resulting circuit. If you remove those resistors there, now these 2 will be in series, these 2 will be in series, both are in parallel. Similarly here these 2 will be in series, these 2 will be in series and these 2 will be in series, both are in parallel. You can solve the remaining circuit. Like I will draw the remaining resulting circuit here. So I can draw this circuit as at the top, this is the path, the resistance here. I am replacing them as a single resistor. Those 4 resistors I am replacing them. So now this is our starting point here F and this is the final point H. So then here this 2R and 2R both are in parallel, you will get R. Similarly here 2R and 2R both are in parallel, you will get resistance R. Now here single resistor R is there here, and similarly here single resistor R is there here. Now we can simplify this. These three are in series and that will be in parallel with this. And so that you can write this effective resistance as 3R by 4 you will get that R effective value. So that is across this phase diagonal. And so then that is the resistance calculation in case of a cube with the help of this path symmetry. And so this path symmetry is more useful than that of remaining techniques. So this path symmetry is very important, and understand this path symmetry problems thoroughly. And we will discuss some more problems based on the path symmetry in our next class, right? Thank you.